Yo, Hegassen here, and here is my review of One Piece 901. This anime episode, why do I need to specify it's an anime episode? This episode covers manga chapters 914 and 915. The end part of 914 and the beginning bit of 915 mixes up a few of the events, but for the most part it's pretty faithful to them two chapters, and at this rate it looks like the anime might actually catch up with the manga numbers, and then we might actually have anime episodes above the manga chapters that they are, because 901, 914, it's slowly catching up. If they're doing like 1.5 chapters to an episode, they might even start stretching it out to like half a chapter an episode, so it could very well start to catch up with at least the numbering of the manga. But yeah, this episode, I'll be honest, it wasn't really what I was expecting. All of the previews and everything, they were hyping it up. Luffy versus Batman. We were seeing all of the scenes of Batman firing off his arrows, blocking with armament haki, Luffy flying up and punching him. And that's pretty much all we got. To be honest, that was literally it. What we saw in the preview is what we get. It was a nice little bit of animation. It was definitely better than what we actually got in the manga. In the manga, you just see Batman firing down the arrows when they're on the Komainu, and then you don't actually see what happens to him. Here, at least, you see him fly off, and admitting the fact that he was just a distraction while Gazelleman gets out of there. But it's actually good to see that Batman is a little bit less fodder. He's using armament haki, and I'm pretty sure last week he was using observation haki, because we saw that red eye glint. So that's two forms of haki confirmed. So, these gifters aren't as fodder as we once thought. I mean, compared to Luffy and Zoro, they are fodder. But compared to a lot of the average pirates out there, they are still pretty strong and intimidating to at least them characters. But yeah, that's all we got of Batman. Batman's gone, but we see a lot more of Gazelleman in this episode. And while I thought that they were going to really run with Batman and fill the episode with a lot more Batman content, instead what we got was a whole lot of I swear that literally went on for like a minute of just Gazelleman leaning against a wall with a stitch. It was quite funny, but they dragged it out quite a lot. And at the end of this episode, we briefly saw Beppo as well, and he was also out of breath. So the theme of this episode was characters out of breath, a good chunk of this episode. But yeah, we see Gazelleman, and he had taken Otama last week to Holdem. And anime, don't try and trick me into thinking that Holdem is an intimidating character. So many shots this episode of Holdem's lion looking intimidating, looking much bigger than it actually should. Great little shot, but as we know, Holdem is a joke, isn't he? Because we see that here, he's just a big guy with a lion sticking out of his belly button. The lion, it's quite interesting actually, the lion has its own personality separate to Holdem, so he's kind of zone powers have gone a little bit weird. He doesn't turn into the animal, he's literally got the animal growing out of him. It looks like a belt, but it is actually attached. They do share the same body, and they don't get along. They don't get along to the point where they're getting in a fight, and the lion puts up its paw and smacks him in the balls. Ooh! You could feel that. You could feel it, that impact, man. They really went to town animating that. You could see his balls, like the outline of his balls through his clothing. You saw them squish on the impact. Ooh, you got a feel for Holdem, but I guess that's what you get when you have a lion growing out of its groin. And the funny thing is, the lion also feels the pain, so he smacked himself in the balls. But when Holdem gets a little bit of composure back, he's still not intimidating, but he does lean into Otama, and we find out why he's captured Otama, and that is because the beast pirates know of Otama's power. As you know, she can pop off a little ball, feed it to what we saw with the baboon, and the baboon became her ally. For the beast pirates, a load of pirates that are based around beasts, that's a pretty scary power, so that's why they got Otama. Speaking of characters that are played to be intimidating that aren't really, we had a little bit more of Urashima in this chapter, and we see him, he's in a restaurant, he's eating, he's crying over the fact that Okiku doesn't want to be his wife and is rejecting him all of the time. There's another little gifter there called Mouse Man, and he's kind of like whispering in Urashima's ears like, look, she comes from Okibori Town. The people of Okibori Town are nothing, we have Orochi on our side. We have Kaido on our side. You can do what you want. And this kind of gets in Uroshima's head a little bit. And he starts to think that, yeah, he can do anything. He gets up, he says to the restaurant owners, hey, is that a raccoon dog? Is that a tanuki? I want to eat it. I bet Chopper was sneezing somewhere when that happened. Let's get them two meeting. Chopper versus Urashima. Come on. It's set up right there. Everyone thinks Chopper's a tanuki. Urashima versus Chopper. Confirmed? Meanwhile, Luffy is with Zoro and Okiku. They're on the Komainu and they are charging in to Bakura Town. We see a load of people lined up at the gates. During this, Okiku grabbed a samurai sword, which again we saw in the preview, and she announces here that she is a samurai too. No one's surprised because it was in the preview. But yeah, she's a samurai, but Zoro, he's still like, I don't know, there's something about you. There's something about you. So Zoro's definitely still got his eyes on Okiku, and Luffy has his eyes on the people up ahead, and he goes into a Conqueror's Haki, and then we get to be continued. That was a pretty epic to be continued. Zooming on his eye as he does the Conqueror's Haki, then to be continued. Next week, we're getting a lot more Urashima. You see that there's a load of sumo action going on, so that's going to be a lot of fun. This episode, it was alright. I mean, it wasn't as good as the last few episodes of Wano. You know, a lot of the stuff from the preview I was a little bit more hyped on than the episode. It wasn't any of that. You know, it was good that Holdem and Otama banter, but they really dragged on. Gazelleman leaning against the corner, breathing a little bit too long. Overall, I'd probably give this episode just the blue tier. I mean, I can't really be giving all of these gold and purples all the time. You have to balance it out, and for me, this is probably the weakest Wano episode so far. But next week, some sumo stuff is definitely going to be interesting. I hope. By the way, don't you think it's weird when Zoro's talking about that Okiku grabbed her sword? You can clearly hear him say, Katana! Nani? And yet then, and the subtitles at the bottom, it just says sword. Why not just put katana? You can clearly hear him say katana, and you translate it to sword. Nani? Hey, so thanks for watching. What did you think? Let me know about it in the comments below. And if you enjoyed my video, maybe give it a like. And if you really liked it, why not subscribe? You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. Oh, and here's a related video you might enjoy, and something more fresh. I've been Hegassen, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!